We just did running back sleepers that you should draft. I'll link that here. But now let's talk about wide receiver sleepers that you need to draft in fantasy football this year.
Yeah.
We're going to make this straight to the point. We got 2 wide receiver sleepers each that we're drafting. We're going to tell you why. I'll go first. Let's talk about Christian Kirk.
Ooh,
Okay.
Okay.
Right now, I don't think ADP is catching up with Christian Kirk. I think he's at an incredible value, and he's a Jacksonville Jaguar. So I don't imagine the ADP is going to raise much after this video. Right now, he's a wide receiver 41 according to Fantasy Pros. Underdog has him as a wide receiver 41 as well. In my rankings, I have him as my wide receiver 33. So I would say I am significantly higher on Christian Kirk than most of the community. Let's talk about this. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I think Kirk is going to have a potentially really good year, and we're all undervaluing him. Number 1, I really believe in Trevor Lawrence's progression, okay? The Urban Meyer firing and Doug Peterson hiring is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated moves of the entire offseason. It's not being talked about enough how important that is for Trevor Lawrence's growth, his ability to be comfortable as a professional athlete.
Okay.
I said this so many times, but when the biggest news of your team is that your head coach was twerking on a girl at a Chili's, or getting twerked on, rather,
Right.
that's a problem, okay?
Right.
So now you got Doug Peterson who steps in. He helped Carson Wentz develop into an MVP candidate early in his career over there in Philly. Here's the deal. Nothing can thrive without leadership. On the field, let's talk about Trevor Lawrence. Last year, there was some good, okay? For Christian Kirk's sake, pass attempts. Trevor Lawrence was 7th in the NFL. That is very good for Kirk's target share. Pace of play, 8th in the NFL. That is, again, very good for Kirk's opportunity and his target share. Money throws, which are passes that are requiring exceptional skills or athleticism in clutch moments. He made the 4th most money throws. This is all good. There's a lot of bad that we can point to.
Right.
Okay. Number 1, yards per attempt, last in the NFL. You can see why they needed a guy like Christian Kirk to stretch the field. Pressured throws, 2nd in the NFL. Well, they just improved their offensive line, so hopefully that will improve this year as well. Interceptable passes, the most in the NFL.
Right.
Should have more time in 2022, and I would argue that those last 2 really correlate with each other. The 2nd most pressured throws, the most interceptable passes. I don't think that's a coincidence that those 2 are the worst in the NFL, or around the worst. And we are adding Travis Etienne. I keep talking about Travis Etienne. I think he's a huge boost for Trevor Lawrence in this offense. You're adding Christian Kirk, you're adding Brandon Sheriff, and you're adding Doug Peterson, a genuine, legit head coach who led a team to a Super Bowl win, not Urban Meyer, okay? Secondly, let's talk about opportunities. He's going to have a ton of opportunities this year. Last year, Marvin Jones led this team with 7 targets per game. Then you had Laviska, Laquan, Jamal. They kind of all were sharing that target load. And now you have all of these guys are being pushed down the order, and Kirk will be at the very top of this target share. I personally imagine him averaging around 7.5 targets per game this year. And if he's able to stay healthy the entire season, that is 127 targets at minimum this year. Tell me another wide receiver right now that's going round 9 to 10 that you can get that kind of target share with.
Right.
I don't think you're going to be able to find it. I truly don't think you're going to be able to point to another wide receiver that is stepping into this much opportunity. Okay, so for me, I predict him to have less efficiency than last year in Arizona, but I think he'll have more opportunity, okay? So I'm looking at around a wide receiver 26 to 30 finish is his upside, is his ceiling. That is a good flex option for you on a weekly basis, okay? And despite me saying he might be less efficient this year, he was really, really good last year in Arizona. He truly did have a little breakout that no one was talking about.
Right.
He posted the 7th highest catch rate, which divides receptions by total targets. They need someone reliable in Jacksonville. Maybe Kirk is the answer. I know they overpaid him, but there's no one that is taking targets away from Christian Kirk in this offense. I feel super confident that if he plays all 17 games, we're seeing at least 120 targets for him. So I love his value where it currently is, because opportunity is really the most important thing in redraft. It truly is opportunity.
Yeah. Christian Kirk is definitely interesting, obviously, in redraft. You know what really scares me, and maybe because it's still too early, is I haven't heard much of the preseason hype of Christian Kirk. He, I know that no, I know that doesn't
To be
matter.
fair, how reliable is preseason
Exactly, I know
hype?
that doesn't matter.
What's that turned out
I
to
know that doesn't matter, but it
last year?
feels like I feel in my eyes, it feels like he's the only true weapon in the wide receiver room, and I haven't heard
Sure,
much of it. Not saying that you should be relying on that. Just a little thought I
sure.
wanted to share.
Just a
Um,
lot of us relied on Brandon Ayuk hype last year, and Debo Samuel was the guy.
exactly.
So I don't know if hype is what we should be looking at.
100%, 100%.
Yeah,
My first wide receiver sleeper is actually a group, and
love
it's
it.
the Giants wide receiver room. And I'm this is not a bias at all. It's actually it's actually true. You know,
Okay,
these
yeah,
all these guys are late round values. Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson. Really not Kadarius Toney. I would say he's going around
right.
eight round to nine, but I think that's still a great value for Kadarius Toney. Okay, um, look, our last three mock drafts: Kenny G, wide receiver 65, Kadarius Toney, wide receiver 48, Wan'Dale Robinson, essentially undrafted, was only drafted in
Right.
one of our mock drafts, and that was Zach. Actually, he drafted him with his last pick in one of the
Mm-hmm.
mock drafts. Okay, look, the reason to draft these guys is because of the, like Zach said, the opportunity that these guys could be getting, right? And
Yeah.
this is not the most sexy offense. I know that, I'm a Giants fan. This is not. It
Sure.
doesn't have the best quarterback to lead them. I know that, I'm a Giants fan. But all these guys have opportunity are getting drafted or undrafted in the very late rounds. If we really go with the preseason hype, we see Wan'Dale Robinson already running with the ones. We see Kadarius Toney in the Wildcat. We see Kadarius Toney being
Right.
healthy, getting all the attention in the middle of the field. And then Kenny G is he just keeps saying, I'm not he's not saying actually anything. But the one thing that didn't happen last year was that he didn't score touchdowns, and that's where Kenny G makes his money. His
Sure.
goal solely for this season, in my eyes, is to score touchdowns. We brought him in to score touchdowns. What he did in Detroit was score touchdowns. Okay, I can break
Yeah.
these guys down in each and every way. Kenny G, wide receiver 9 in 2019, obviously led the league in touchdowns in
Mm-hmm.
2019. Once again, he makes his money in touchdowns. Completely different team. But Daniel Jones last year was a top 5 deep ball thrower. Kenny G is one of the best deep ball contested catches wide receivers out there.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney, we saw what he did, the Swiss Army knife. We only saw the one game. Can he stay healthy? Hopefully, we saw what he did in Dallas. 29 plus fantasy points, 118 yards, 13 targets. Crazy. And then Wan'Dale,
Yeah.
Swiss Army knife part 2. Why did they draft Wan'Dale? No idea. They had Kadarius Toney. But he's looking nice. I wasn't a
Right.
believer in Wan'Dale, but the opportunity is there, and what he can do and bring in the middle of the field could be very special. So to draft Wan'Dale, maybe with one of your last picks, to draft Kenny G, maybe third to fourth last pick, and then
Yeah.
getting Joker as your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, what's the problem? You know, how much risk are you really taking here? And this is why I'm saying it's not coming as a Giants fan. This is coming as somebody that is trying to find the value for you, because I can go
Sure.
deep into how much I love, obviously, my Giants. But take a shot. Look at your draft boards or look at your mock drafts when you go and be like, okay, where's Kenny G going? He's usually going 13, 14. Where's Wan'Dale, undrafted? Where's Kadarius Toney? I think you'll find really good value. And I think the upside is going to be is the opportunity, and there is risk reward, you know? And it's
Yeah.
not even risk reward. It's more like what's the word I'm trying to say? You know, low risk, high
No
reward.
risk, high.
That's
Yeah. Exactly.
exactly low risk, high reward. You're not spending too much draft capital on these guys. So take a look once again. Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Kenny G. These guys are out there in your late
Yeah.
rounds.
I specifically really like Wandale
Mm-hmm.
because of his ADP right now. Wide receiver 70 is crazy. So I'm definitely on board with the Wandale, and it's kind of similar to where I'm going next, and that's Jahan Dotson.
Ah,
Current ADP, wide receiver 64
mm-hmm.
on Underdog and in Fantasy Pros. I don't know if that's going to stay true, but I don't imagine it gets all that much higher with him
Mm-hmm.
being a rookie. He's currently my wide receiver 53 in my rankings. And I'm not going to be able to tell you about an analytic. I'm not going to be able to point to what he did last year, okay,
Right.
because he's a rookie. But what I really want to tap into here is the unknowns. Again, you talk about the risk reward. We're talking wide receiver 64 here. Okay. Going
Crazy.
in rounds 12 to 13. I'm looking for players with untapped upsides. There will be a lot of players in this range around Jahan Dotson who already have solidified roles in the NFL.
Right.
And they need injuries or other scenarios to happen in order for them to really gain opportunities within their offense. How about like guys going around him, Jamal Williams, Tyler Boyd, James Robinson, Naeem Hines, Alexander Madison, right? So these are all guys who have relatively solidified roles and certain things need to happen. We're talking about Jahan Dotson here. We haven't seen anything yet, which makes his ADP really attractive to me. The unknowns of this extremely talented wide receiver who is probably going to be the wide receiver 2 on the team, the second most targeted player on this team.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, they just spent the 16th overall pick in this year's draft on Jahan Dotson. A lot of people said that that was a reach. I think slowly and surely we're starting to see maybe Jahan Dotson debunk that thought process because he's been widely viewed as an incredible talent every time he steps on the field at camp, mini camp, rookie camp. So I love a lot of the rookies in this class, wide receiver wise, but they're all going about 6 to 7 rounds earlier than Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is the connection with Carson Wentz is already solidified, right? That entire time when Terry was rightfully so trying to negotiate the best deal for him, he wasn't there. Jahan was there, and they were building chemistry from day one. And Carson Wentz and Terry did not have any previous chemistry. It's not like these two guys are coming back to the same team. They've already had history. No, the first player that Carson Wentz had chemistry with was Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that is important. But to be clear, obviously, I do believe Terry McLaurin's going to have an incredible year. I think he's going to be by far the highest targeted player on this team. But I would argue that Terry and Jahan, they both benefit greatly from each other being on the field, from each other's presence. Okay. So again, while I can't talk about an analytic, I can't tell you about what he did last year, in the NFL because he's just a rookie.
Right.
I'm looking at the unknowns based off of his ADP. Okay. Take a shot on Jahan Dotson. I don't wish injuries on anyone, but this is a player who, again, has the draft capital to be relevant, even without an injury, and is in an offense that's all brand new. A lot of people don't know what this offense is going to look like. What if Jahan is an important piece and we're all missing out on it? Wide receiver 64, it's worth a shot, I think, to go draft Jahan Dotson with his talent.
Yeah, I love Jahan Dotson. And then, I mean, honestly, just this, as we were recording this morning, Jahan Dotson, the hype on him in camp, it's crazy. But we're not going with the hype on camp. Let's stay in the NFC East.
Yeah.
My last late round wide receiver sleeper that I think you guys should be targeting is Jalen Tolbert, excuse me. So Jalen Tolbert for the Dallas Cowboys. Once again, kind of like Zach, I can't bring you what he can, what he has done. He's a rookie in this year, but the opportunity is there. Okay. Currently wide receiver 51, according to Fantasy Pros, underdog wide receiver 59. On our latest 3 mock drafts, he averaged wide receiver 61. So really, really in those late rounds, he's my wide receiver 57. The targets is there. Okay, the opportunity is there. Amari Cooper is gone. 117 plus targets are going to be vacant. The biggest thing here is that Michael Gallup is already not going to be ready for week 1. That report already came out. The talks are already there saying that he's going to miss at least week 1. What's that timeline? We don't know. As we get closer to the season, we would know more information about that. The guy that was stepping up, the guy that a lot of people were getting really excited about was James Washington. And the latest reports saying that James Washington will be out for 6 weeks because of a fractured right foot.
6 to 10, I think, right?
6 to 10
Could
weeks.
be even longer.
Exactly. So once again, another opportunity for Jalen Tolbert to step up. We all know CeeDee Lamb is now the wide receiver 1. Who's the wide receiver 2 with Michael Gallup and James Washington currently both out and injured? It's Jalen Tolbert. Then you have Dalton Schultz there. The opportunity is there. And I compared Michael Gallup and Jalen Tolbert together when we were doing, which team you guys, which player you should be drafting from the same team. And I actually said you guys should be drafting Jalen Tolbert purely because I do believe he's actually the more talented wide receiver. I think he has a little bit more of an edge compared to Michael Gallup. You know, the body size is pretty much the same, the height, the weight, et cetera, et cetera. And then the senior years are all really very similar. But I do believe Jalen Tolbert has the edge over Michael Gallup. And I think that's just because of the injury and other things that I said in that video. You guys should go watch that. But the target shares are going to be there. Amari Cooper in the last 3 years was averaging 8.1 targets per game when he's healthy. Sorry, last year. So last year when he was with the Cowboys, 8.1 targets per game when healthy. CeeDee Lamb, 7.5 targets per game. Michael Gallup, 7.7 targets per game. Jalen Tolbert has to fill one of those guys. CeeDee Lamb clearly bumps up maybe to the 8.1. Maybe this is just being generous as well. You know, like, let's be really honest. Jalen Tolbert averaging 5 to 6 targets a game is not unrealistic maybe for the first 3 to 5 weeks of the season if both James Washington and Michael Gallup is out. Who else is he throwing to? You know, the wide receiver depth on the Cowboys isn't there. You know, TD Vasher, who's kind of getting talked right now, Noah Brown kind of getting talked right now. Unless they bring somebody in, I don't know who else is going to step up. And Jalen Tolbert is the guy with the opportunity right now, is playing with a really great quarterback in Dak Prescott. This is a late round guy. Why not take a shot on him? Once again, this could be one of your last picks, your last wide receivers in your draft. Take a shot on Jalen Tolbert. I think the upside is there for Jalen Tolbert, and the opportunity is there for Jalen Tolbert. I won't be surprised if he finishes as a top 35 wide receiver with all the opportunity that's happening.
Yeah, agreed. I think he definitely has good upside. Let's just see what happens when Gallup comes back. But to start the year, I mean, he could be really valuable.
100%.
And then you could trade him. So why don't you comment down below? Let us know who your favorite sleepers are. And tell us if you like or dislike the ones that we brought.
Yo, what's good? Thanks
up?
for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
now,
it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.